Hello, Austin County. Today I'm here with Stacie Villarreal, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service Agricultural and Natural Resources Agent. Boy, that's a long one. Welcome, Stacie.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're glad you're here. So I guess we'll just start with getting to know you. How did you first get involved with the Texas A&M AgriLife program?
So I actually became an agent back in October of 2015 in Waller County. And so I've always had kind of a passion for education and working with people. And so it kind of fit right in hand with kind of what I wanted to do.
Right.
And so also I wanted to move back kind of to this area. My husband's from this area. So it was a nice, hey, great opportunity to move back and be here. Growing up, I had a great agent. He was actually a 4-H agent, I guess, back in my hometown. That was really supportive all the time with me. And so it was one of those, you grow up and you want to be your hero in a way.
Right.
And so it was a really good fit. I felt like, and so I was probably one of the few people out there that when they get into extension, they know what they're getting themselves into. I did have to explain to my husband what I was getting myself into. Long nights and programs and running around doing all kinds of things. And so he's grown to be accustomed to it, if you will.
Well, I was just saying that brings us, I'm almost afraid to ask to, what all do you do and what does a typical day look like? Or is it to go in day into night? I mean,
the nice thing about my job is no day's ever the same, to be honest.
Okay.
I have some days I'm in the office, it's kind of quiet. I can get emails done, return some phone calls. Next day, it could be a meeting all day. Trainings, I could have an actual educational program, have site visits. It's just no day is ever the same. And I like that. It's not the same thing day in, day out.
No chance to get bored.
No, never.
All right. So you do a lot of things. So what would you say would probably be, I guess, the most rewarding part of being an agent? Because, I mean, it's got to be a lot if you do all that stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. I do a little stuff with some 4-H kids and stuff. And so seeing them succeed is always a highlight for me. Going to their programs, helping people, and then even having those people come back after that program and saying, this was a great educational program. I learned so much. Thank you for having this. To me, that makes me feel good. That means between myself and my committee members, we put together a good educational program and found those speakers that would help encompass what the community is looking for.
Okay.
And what their need is, what they're interested in. And so to me, that's a big highlight for me.
I was going to say, one of the things that that I'm very interested in personally is the Master Gardener program. And so I guess my big question is, I go by the library here in Sealy, and they have a big sign and it says, provided by Master Gardener. And I had a friend who went for the Master Gardener program, but I don't know what a Master Gardener is. What is a Master Gardener?
So a Master Gardener is with Texas A&M AgriLife. It is what we call a master volunteer.
Okay.
And so we have technically 3 programs that are master volunteers, which is our master wellness, which is more through our family community health agents. Then we have our master naturalist, which work with Texas Parks and Wildlife as well as AgriLife. Okay. And they focus more on native birds, things like that, more of the natural wildlife side of things. And then our master gardeners are solely with the extension agents for ag and natural resources or horticulture agents. Not all counties have them in our 254 counties. And ours here in Austin County is kind of unique. It's actually a 4-county
Square.
Yeah. So it includes Austin, Colorado, Fayette, and Washington County. Okay. And so with these master gardeners, they are those people that are interested in gardening or have a passion for gardening. Vegetables, flowers, it doesn't matter if they have that passion or want to learn more. it's for them, especially if they like volunteering and giving back to the community. Because as much as I do, I'm only one person.
Right.
And so being able to have these master volunteers, they help us spread the word about extension, about some of the information that we have to give. What plants do well in our area, what insects might be destroying certain vegetable crops that you might have. How can you better these vegetables that you're growing, or do companion planting where you're planting two different variety of plants, but you're in reality sacrificing one of those for the insects, so that way you don't have them on your tomatoes, for instance.
Okay.
Learning more about the soil itself, it's a plethora of information and stuff that they can do, but it gives us the opportunity to reach people through our demonstration gardens.
Okay, now I'm gonna jump around here a little bit. I went to this is the actual AgriLife page here, Greg, if you want to make that big, and they have upcoming events. Now, your people that do this, are these your master volunteers?
Some are going to be our master volunteers, and some are going to be our area program committees.
Okay.
And so, like the one we have that's on the screen now, that's actually put on by my horticulture committee.
Okay.
Some of those are actually master gardeners. And we do have a lot of master gardeners that also attend this program, because for this one, we're going to talk about hydroponics. And so a lot of people are interested in that. And so we try to always focus on things that people are interested in learning. And our master gardeners also are asked to do more education hours after they receive their initial training. So they stay current and up to date on all the information that.
So this is a way that they can stay current going to these things. Okay. And I know that our area, we're called Bluebonnet Master Gardeners. Okay. Make sure I have that correct.
Yes, ma'am.
And okay. Now the thing is that there's a misconception that your master gardeners are little gray-haired ladies who are retired, and they leave their cats at home and they come out and piddle in the garden and, grow vegetables that they give to their neighbors. Is that true? Is there a minimum age, a maximum age, average age to be a master gardener?
So most of our master gardeners are retired, just because they're retired. They love gardening. They want something else to do and for fun. But we encourage anybody and everybody. We have a junior master gardener program, which is from our 8-year-olds all the way up to give or take middle school. We have different programs that they can kind of do and encompass projects they can do. And even with 4-H, we have a horticulture a horticulture path that they can kind of follow as well through other events. Like at the fair, we have the floral cup, the miniscapes, things like that. And so FFA and 4-H kids can do that, but it's also something our junior master gardeners can do.
Okay, so I found a couple of these pictures, and so these are
So some of those are 4-H or FFA kids, and that's kind of what the 4-H would have as a horticulture project.
Okay, and that was I found a couple of things that were at the fairs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the fair this past year and looked at what some of these kids did, and I was astounded.
Oh yeah,
I mean I was like, wow, I couldn't do what they did. I really don't think. Okay, so we know that age is not necessarily a restriction, but with that, what is it? What are the requirements? Like, do you have to take classes, tests? And we know the continuing education, but to initially get it, what do you have to do?
So it's every year we hold a training. And so this year our training for 2025 is held in Colorado County. We try to rotate between the 4 counties on our training class. And so next year for 26, Austin County will be hosting it.
Okay.
We start about January and we'll run till about April. It's 1 day a week for about 4 or 5 hours for the class. And
wait, is there a cost for that?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's right now $200. It includes a book. It includes the book that you'll get, a big, nice textbook. all the materials. We include a soil sample. That way, kind of the initial start of like what you need to look for. It helps with covering our speakers, like with their fee and stuff like that. If there is any fee or travel cost. Right. Some of the counties are able to find places they can go on field trips, things of that nature. And then, but we cover roughly about 50 hours or more of education.
Like real school.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like taking a horticulture class in college and getting it condensed down to about 4 months.
Okay.
Once a week.
So it's like a mini session in college.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All of our specialists, or all of our speakers tend to be specialists in their field. So we'll have like ornamental, landscape design, cover fruit trees, citrus trees, cover all those different topics, even plant disease. And we'll have people from A&M come and teach those classes. So they're getting professors, coming down and teaching them their knowledge. And then this is stuff, all the information, to be honest, is like drinking out of a fire hose. You can only take so much in.
Right.
But that's the nice thing about the Master Gardeners. If you find something that you really like, and you're really good at, or you have that interest in, like entomology, we've got advanced trainings that then they can go and further their education after they complete the initial classes of those 50 hours. And then with that, we ask for 50 hours of volunteer hours.
Okay.
As well. And so once they finish all of that, then if they want to do an advanced training to learn more on a focal point, right, they're more than welcome to do that. Right. As well. And then we ask kind of in return for that is, hey, help, maybe with the class next year, or do one of our lunch and learns, and so that way they get to share their knowledge, what they've learned, or pick a project or something like that they have an interest in, and do more education, because that's what we're about, is
so
that
you
education.
Start off with the Master Gardener, and from there just branch off in all kinds of directions. If the destructive bugs were something that interested you could go specialize in that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And those classes, same thing. Most of those advanced training classes are usually about 3 or 4 days long. They're anywhere in the state, and you get to meet other Master Gardeners from across the state. And then same thing. But that one's usually from 8 to 5, 3 or 4 days, where you're focused on just that. Some of the other ones are online for a couple hours, and they stretch out over a longer period. It just kind of depends more or less what they have.
Okay, so you do have some ways of doing like self-study if they want. So you don't have to wait just every year for this class to come around if you wanted.
Not all. Well, for the advanced trainings, not all of them are every year. Like our Junior Master Gardener program is usually every year. It's been kind of frequent now that we've had an entomology every fall that's online. But a lot of the other ones, it just fluctuates and it goes. If a county is interested in hosting it, then they will. So they had an herb one that they did about a year and a half ago. It was the first time they've ever done an advanced training for herbs. And we actually had 3 from Bluebonnet Master Gardeners that attended.
So basically, depending on need, y'all will craft courses.
Yes.
Or interest, I guess would be.
The Texas Master Gardeners will, the state association will kind of come and craft those courses and then find the speakers, and then we'll reach out to other counties and ask, hey, are y'all interested in hosting this potentially?
Are y'all looking for feedback and things like that? I mean, do y'all, or is it just kind of y'all test the water and see what it works?
Yeah, kind of a little bit of both, I guess. If there's a big interest, then the state may come in and saying, hey, we've had a lot of people ask about this. We're working on trying to get this. Back in 2011, after the Bastrop fire, they did a Firewise advanced training where they focused primarily on what to plant around your house to help from spreading the fires, or like what you can do. Like, don't put your plants right up next to your house like most people do.
Right.
You need to have that barrier. Don't have, plants that are so high, and going through things like that. They've come back and they haven't had one of those since 2011. And it might have been 2012 that they might have actually done the course. They've talked about having another course here in the next year or two. And so they've reached out to us since most of those people are aware or work in our area about having it here again. And so that's something that we would potentially host for across the state.
So, and the beauty part is that you have created a network. So if you're here in Sealy and you find invasive bugs or something, you could say, you know, hey, Stacie, I need somebody who knows about invasive bugs. And you could say, well, you know, Bob over there knows a lot about them, and let's hook y'all up. That's pretty neat. Now, when you get the kids in there, like the adults, we know what they get out of it. They get fun and whatever. But like the kids, when they compete and things like that, do you see a lot of them then going on and pursuing more interest in the horticulture and things? Like, have you seen them move into careers? Like the person that you talked to kind of inspired you. Have you had any come back and say, hey, you know, gosh, I decided I was going to be a tree doctor because of, you know.
Yeah. So last time we hosted the class in 2022, we had a gentleman. He was actually about 17, homeschooled from Colorado County. He went through the course with his mom, graduated with like kind of through us, and then actually enrolled and went to Florida to further a career in horticulture.
Nice.
And that's what he wanted to do. He had always had an interest in gardening and horticulture. And so this was kind of a good stepping point for him in a way, to go into that. And then even some of our other kids that we've had, like the horticulture committee, they do a scholarship. Same thing with Master Gardeners. They do a scholarship, for youth. And now I will say, if you have maybe more of an interest in horticulture, that may, you know, you might get a couple extra points to receive that scholarship.
Right.
Because that's, of course, what we encourage is kids to further their education, but then also if they have that interest in horticulture or potentially plant diseases or entomology, we want to encourage that, because we need those people out there.
Right.
That are the arborist that can identify those insects, because I don't know all the thousands and millions of insects.
Right.
I look and I can see them, and I can go out and identify the closest I can, and then I may take it back with me to the office and then send it to one of our specialists at A&M and going, can you help confirm, like, this is what it is, so that way we can have the correct identification of it.
All right. And you know, we're talking about the kids. What kind of programs do you guys do with the local kids? I'm sure you do homeschool and different things.
So we do offer a junior master gardener program. We have one in Sealy that's a homeschool group at the library in Sealy. They meet Friday mornings for a few hours, and there's 4 ladies that have gone through the junior master gardener training, and they have a blast working with those kids. This is actually their second year doing it. They have about 17 to 18 kids that come on a regular basis every Friday. Then we have another junior master gardener group actually in Round Top, so Fayette County. Same thing. They work with those kids on gardening, different projects, trying to cover some of the basic information, parts of a plant, or what's going to grow, how's it going to grow, you know, just kind of a little bit of everything.
Right.
I mean, even the watershed, the water process of, you know, rain, precipitation.
We had the watershed lady on.
Annalie.
They sure did.
And then with our actual Master Gardeners, then we do what's called Kids Camp. So it's a 3-day camp in June that we rotate between each of the counties. So each county has the opportunity to host the camp for 3 days. Each day it's from 8 o'clock to about noon, and they cover a full topic. They get typically snacks related to whatever it is. So they did entomology a couple years ago. So the ladies that were in charge of the snacks made things that were insect look related, but they were all healthy snacks.
Okay, I was saying, you didn't make them eat bugs, did you?
No. But they made really cute things, you know, like, of course, the ant on the log. And then one of them, they used different vegetables and made like little like ladybugs and things. And it was cute, but it also made the kids have the opportunity to try fruit and vegetables and stuff that maybe they normally don't try,
right,
to encourage that kind of healthy eating as well.
Okay, so I guess what I'm seeing here is it's also, is it just going out and digging in the dirt? It can be a social thing as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So we encourage them to, if they have an interest or a passion in something, they can write an article for us and we'll put it in our newsletter, maybe the newspaper. It'll go on the Master Gardener's website. And then if they were like working with kids and have that passion of like a retired teacher, then they may want to do the Junior Master Gardener program or a kids camp. If they are completely, I don't want to be in front of a camera ever or presenting to somebody, that's fine. They prefer being in a garden and maintaining those demonstration gardens we have. That's fine too. Like there's something for everybody.
So it's whatever you put into it or what you want to make of it.
Definitely.
Okay.
One of the ladies in the class for this year, we told them like, hey, if you have a passion on something and you want to write an article, and she was like, that was my goal for this year is to become published. So if I write an article and it gets in the newspaper, I'm a published author. We're like, yeah,
Go for it.
go for it. You can write them all day long. That helps us, you know. Again, we're that whole research base, you know, and want to get that information out to people.
Well, how many of your what do you call them? Example gardens? What is
Demonstration gardens.
demonstration gardens? How many of those do you have around Austin County?
A lot.
Okay.
I'm going to say we probably about 15 of them. So we've got one in West End, out in Industry, at that library there. They usually kind of plant things seasonally, depending on if it's when it's colder. They put some of those ornamental cabbages out there. But most of the stuff we try to plant, and most of them are going to be things that are either native, Texas superstars, and have like a reason for why they're kind of planted.
Okay.
Our goal is to also make sure that they're all labeled. So if people come up and they go, oh, that looks really pretty, that seems to be always doing really well here, they know.
Right.
At our office, we've got all of the ones that are planted out front of our office in those raised beds, or planters. They're all Texas superstars. Now, I will say they don't look as hot. A lot of them have gone dormant because of the freezes. We've covered them and stuff, but they've gone dormant. And so now it's give them a little bit more time. Then we're going to come in, trim them up, and then they'll be coming back. We also have a demonstration garden actually at the Sin Center, where it's a big vegetable garden that has been going on for years. They plant different vegetables in the garden, and from what they collect, they turn around and then take to the either the food pantry with what they have left over, or if it's during when the weekend's going leading up to market, the Belleville market, then they'll farmers market, then they'll have those there to where it's a donation. Like people can come and get some of the vegetables from there and then make a donation towards the Master Gardeners. We have several gardens here in Sealy, all the way around Levine Park. All of that's been done by several of our Master Gardeners, but the main one is Renee Kaufman. She's done a beautiful job maintaining that and being in charge of that. There's for the most part, if you see at one of our signs that says garden by Master Gardeners, you know, it's one of theirs. We try to highlight what they've done. Outside of the Sealy Library, the Junior Master Gardeners, they're working on that. So they're growing the different vegetables and things like that. And so they get to see that. Then one of our newest projects is in San Felipe at the historical site.
Oh, and what is that?
So the Historical Society had asked them to work on our garden and help them decide on what grew, or potentially the pioneers grew in 1823.
Oh, wow.
And so they've worked on finding vegetables and designing that garden to what it historically would have looked like then.
Wow.
So then it can be turned around and used for the Historical Society when they do their tours.
Oh, reenactments and things like that.
And so they can actually have that there to show the kids and the visitors that come through the park.
Okay. When, like, these people that do this, where do they finance it themselves, or do they get grants, or does the extension help them to plant?
So some of the projects, depending on where it is, like for instance, the Historical Society, they help put some of the funds in, of course, because it's something, you know, that they want the help with it. And then one of the things that we do is we have fundraisers throughout the year. We have mainly two. We have one coming up in April. That's going to be our annual plant sale in Levine Park. And so that one, and then we also do a tree sale, again, held in Sealy. And those fundraisers are our main source of bringing in funds to be able to have and maintain some of these demonstration gardens, as well as our scholarships that we offer for the youth in all 4 counties, as well as being able to have like our lunch and learns. So all of that kind of goes into this to where we are a nonprofit, and everything that comes in goes out for educational purposes, scholarships, for these gardens. So it's not something that we're sitting on going and collecting. We try to give it right back to the community.
Right.
In a way.
Well, I was going to say that's one of the things that, excuse me, you send me information and I put it out as much as I can to help, because I think it is such a worthy thing. And I especially like the scholarships. Everybody who's ever watched Hello Austin County knows I'm a former teacher. So, of course, anything about learning, education, I'm all about that. And so, like with the scholarships, how many of those do you give out a year?
Historically, we've always given out one per county. So one for Austin, one for Colorado, one for Fayette, and one for Washington County. Recently, it was up to $1,500 scholarship.
Wow. That's a nice amount.
Yes, definitely. In our recent meeting we had with our board members, they had asked, well, is it possible for us to give extras? And the answer is always yes. If we've got the funds available and that's something we find that there happens to be more worthy candidates, that's something we can definitely discuss and do that. I'm their advisor, but it's solely volunteer led. I just help to keep them between the navigational beacons, keep them going in the right path. But at the end of the day, it's their funds. They use them how they want to. And we just make sure we stay within our guidelines and make sure everybody can benefit from those.
Okay. The other thing I was going to ask you is, my brain just stopped. We were talking about scholarships and good gravy. Oh, fundraising. Sorry about that. The fundraising. I know you talked about the different events. Let me pull this up. Like with the lunch and learns. These are amazing. The events that you have. And like I said, I always put them out for you so that they're out there. And they are free, yes?
Correct.
Okay, they're free. They do ask you to register, obviously, so they have an idea. Now, here's my big...
I was going to say, are they every month? Or
Yeah, for our lunch and learns, they are every month. So unfortunately, the one we had in January, we had to push back because we kind of got froze out.
Right.
But everybody got a kick out of our first one we had, which was gardening tools.
Okay.
They called it the adult show and tell. And we had one master gardener come in primarily who has a knack for finding tools or gardening tools to make your life easier.
Right.
And he's like, I have some that are great and some that don't work great. But then we turned around and told everybody, bring something that you like or you don't like. And they did. And so it was funny to see how everybody was sitting there like, where'd you get that from again? And they're writing it down. Or what is it called?
You like the Home Shopping Network for
Yes.
tools, huh?
Yes. And it was great because it was something that we can all share and work with because it never fails. If you're at a project gardening or working together and you're like, oh, well, what's that? That seems to make things a lot easier.
And there again, that's that networking that, I found on this thing.
That sounds neat because, you buy, Lord knows there's enough to buy out there. And if you've tried and you're like, well, this is junk. And that way people could,
Yes.
skip it. Yeah, skip it.
Yeah.
Now, let's not spend
not-
money
let's not-
on stuff
yeah.
that doesn't work, or, if you just find this little thing, well, this is perfect for this particular thing.
Right. And then,
That's awesome.
just because it says as seen on TV does not mean it's good.
No. And there's a couple of tools that they said, like, this works really well if you've got, sand or this or that.
That's
if you've
true.
got clay. No.
Right. Blackland, all that stuff.
Yeah, around here, we've got that sandy loam so bad. And I know you start getting to I don't know how you work with some of that stuff. When you get the hard clay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then we had the one recently in this month, study of herbs and basil. We had somebody from the horticulture, the Herb Society, Herb Society, and they've created their own like horticulture study group. And they've tested and they grew different types of basil, and they had like their members like grow them. And then they came and Madeline came and talked to the group about, this grows really well in a container versus when we had it planted in the ground. And so that's kind of what she covered. And I was shocked how many people in there were really interested, to the point of, I'm like, well, guess what? We're going to have you come back in the fall and cover, maybe rosemary or mint, something else that y'all have done. And so getting that feedback from everybody that attends, like that helps. We had a lot of people talk about, take that back. So in October of last year, I actually had one of my former master gardeners when I was in Waller County come and speak about a seed library that as I was transitioning out of Waller County, coming into Austin County, and it was during COVID, wanted to do a seed library.
What define a seed library? I hadn't heard that term before.
Okay, so a seed library is usually something that's open to the public, that if people have extra seeds or if we can get seeds donated, they go into a store somewhere where we can store the seeds, and then anybody's welcome to go in and kind of look through the seeds and go, oh, I've never tried this tomato before, or like, oh, this is a pepper that's interesting, and they can take those seeds and grow them themselves. Of course, with the seed library, it's not a guarantee that these seeds are viable or not, because we may not know how long they've been stored, or if they were stored in, a good place, dry, cool area. But it gives people the opportunity, and also we know how expensive seeds can be. So it's all free, to where people can come in and try. And then we also encourage people, if you have seeds, extra seeds, because again, sometimes you buy seeds and it's 500 seeds. Well, you don't need 500 seeds.
Right.
You need about
like a seed swap meet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So we ask that, they're labeled and things like that. So there's one at the Hempstead Library, and there's one now that Master Gardeners have put together, that's actually in Columbus at the Colorado Extension Office, that they've started there. And it's been,
but that's also because they don't give seeds away. Some of them are getting expensive.
Yes.
It's like,
specialty ones.
and our mom has a garden, and she buys, and she will have just, she has a fairly large garden, but she's and all these packets, and they're just sitting there.
yes.
And you can only plant so and so many per year. And
Or she only wants to make, remember, sometimes she'll go, oh, I want to make a short row of this.
right.
But
And she only needs 25, and she has to buy a package of 150,
yeah, we've heard that complaint many
Oh,
times.
yes.
Oh, yeah. So, and it's also been talked that the Junior Master Gardeners here in Sealy might actually start that as well, at the Sealy Library. It's as a kind of a community project for them to do, and maintain. And so hopefully if we get that off the ground, then that'll be something that will be available here in Austin County. But anyways, she had came back in October, had talked about what we had done kind of in Waller County, and talked about collecting seeds. Well, everybody had questions then. So I'm like, well, how about you come back and you talk about like the proper way to collect these seeds and store these seeds for potentially these seed libraries. And so same kind of deal.
Coming back the 18th of March, it appears.
Yep.
Let me break. I'm sorry, I keep breaking in. What? If you properly store a seed, how long can it last?
Depends on the variety. Years.
Okay. So it's not short. If you do it right, it's not a short shelf life thing.
Yeah.
If you do it properly.
If you do it properly, they can last for years, definitely. And there are ways sometimes to test to see if seeds are viable or not.
And that's one of the things covered on that March 18th. When? Okay.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, and yeah, so it's just one of those things that, even your wildflowers or, anything else, just sometimes it's just knowing when to pick those seeds, how to store them, especially if it's, I want to get rid of these plants because there are certain plants that they're very prolific. And they spread their seeds, and mint is one of those things.
I was just thinking mint.
You better put mint in a container or you just have its own bed.
I was saying, pray that a leaf or whatever doesn't fall off, because I had that. That's why I know mint. I thought, oh, I'm going to point myself some mint. It'll be so great, whatever. Before long, it was like, no more mint.
Yes.
Because it was everywhere. I was giving it to everybody. I was doing everything I could, and it's terrible.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, it's great. It's just one of those things that there's certain plants out there that they spread.
I was going to say, and you were talking about testing the seeds and stuff, and I know since y'all work with A&M, seeds led me to dirt. Okay, if you have, does dirt fall under Master Gardener as well? Like if I'm having trouble with my dirt?
So you say dirt, and I chuckle.
Okay. Soil?
Soil is the correct term, because dirt is what you find under your fingernails or on your kitchen floor.
Oh, well.
Soil is what we plant things in.
Gotcha.
And it's just like kind of one of those jokes. It was in college with our professor we had for soils class, and then even our specialist with soils, he'll say the same thing, and he's like, it's not dirt, it's soil.
This is Texas. This is dirt.
So I do know you can. I know we've sent samples off to A&M to be tested and everything. They can do that for y'all as well.
Yes. So we always have the forms and bags available for it, for anybody to come by our office and pick up. Twice a year, we try to do a soil campaign. Usually in the fall, we do a pasture one, which is going to be, of course, by the acreage. And it's at a discounted price. So that way you don't have to pay the full price. And you bring it to us or one of those drop-off locations that are usually on the flyers. Usually, typically the feed stores, like Steinhauser's down here in Sealy. We have 4M in New Orleans, Lindemans in Industry. In Belleville, we've got Linseisen's, Belleville Farm and Ranch, and then our office as well. So people can come in and drop those samples off. In the spring, we try to do a garden one or an urban homeowner. So if you have your lawns, your flower beds, your gardens, even your vineyards, if you've got, grapes and you want to do that. So we try to even them out. So we're working on getting everything finalized for the one we're going to have this spring. Unfortunately, it's not as early as we would like it to be. So it's going to be towards the end of March when we'll actually have that.
It's because of weather?
No, we always try to work with the lab when it's convenient for them.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of the dates they kind of gave us. Because you remember, there's 254 counties in Texas. And if everybody sends their samples in at the same time, it overloads the lab.
Right.
The lab's usually pretty good about getting samples back to us within a week or two. But if we have a campaign, a lot of times, depending on how big it is, can tie it up. When we get those back, then we distribute them out to everybody.
Okay.
But it's important that you try to get your soil tested every 3 years, or if there's been a big change, just so you know what nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium levels you're at, what you need to actually fertilize, because nobody wants to fertilize and waste money if they don't need to.
Right.
Also with our pH, what are you growing? Blueberries and blackberries prefer a more acidic soil. So if you have an alkaline soil, well, you need to figure out how to get that down to be more acidic. And so to know that, it makes it a lot.
I was going to say, even if you would change what you're grazing, like if you were grazing, cattle and then you got horses and whatever, I mean, or it sounds, God forbid those feral hogs that come through, I mean, really, because we have a problem, we have pasture land, and I mean, they'll come through sometimes and just absolutely destroy areas, and they're leaving their droppings and all that stuff. And so that can change things. And I would think that would be something that, would, like you said, every 3 years, if you're having an invasion, I guess, or a really bad time with them.
Yeah. I mean, ideally it's good just to do every 3 years. So, but if you've had like a real low pH, and you've been putting lime out to try to increase it, then that's one of those things where you might want to test every year or every other year to see if that baseline has increased at all, just to figure out where you're at.
Right.
Because again, you don't want to put out triple 13 if you don't need potassium,
right,
and all you may need is nitrogen. Then you need to focus on a heavier nitrogen than anything else. So that makes it nice.
I was just saying, I'm over here on the website again. I love looking through the website. But the big thing, we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit, go into, like we talked about some of the things that are coming up. People just need to, and we're going to link all of this at the very end for you. It shows all the upcoming events. I mean, you can go month by month and it'll show you what's there. And like I said, check Austin County News Online. We always put things out. Now, Lunch and Learns are once a month. And once again, you have here all your read more about it. Tells you how to register.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you who's going to be there. And the thing is, if people have questions, always, here she is, right there at the bottom. You can always call you and ask you questions. So hopefully we'll have lots and lots and lots of people. And you guys are close. You're in Belleville.
Correct.
Even though you work with A&M, can I drop by and say, hey, Stacie, I brought you?
Yes, definitely. I always do encourage to make an appointment because I'm in and out of the office, whether already on a site visit or program or something like that. Especially if you're going to bring in a sample. I always encourage to call ahead of time and let me know you're bringing a sample because fresher the better.
Right.
Don't drive around with a sample of a plant in your truck for 2 weeks and it's dead and come into my office and ask me, what is this? Because my reply is probably going to be a dead plant.
Yeah.
So fresher the better. Sometimes if it's like an aquatic plant, if you bring it in water, that makes it a little easier because then it can sit in the water a little bit longer if I'm not there. But yeah, no, definitely. I'm usually always in the office or somewhere around town. That's for sure.
I guess the big thing I'm wanting people to know is that you're accessible. This is one of these things. You are a county agent. You are here to help us so that Austin County thrives.
Yes.
And I just, like I said, I'm so interested. I mean, we could probably talk for 2-3 hours here because everything you say leads me to 4 different questions. And I always laugh about myself wandering off into the weeds because everything you've said, I'm like, and this. But I want to tell people that, yes, you do have your AgriLife website, and it has animals, livestock. There's your 4-H. I mean, just go and look because I guess I'm kind of a nerd. I'll go look at a website and I click every link and click every tab because you can find stuff. Bluebonnet Master Gardener here on Facebook. Again, they give you information. And here's information about their plant sales. Now that's Waller County, but
yes,
the thing is, if you don't mind driving, it's kind of that old thing. It all doesn't, relatively speaking, all kind of goes in the same pot, whether you're buying in Waller or...
So if you're going to buy in Waller, of course, it's going to go towards their programs,
right,
more or less. If they have a scholarship fund, since I've left, I don't know. It's going to go into theirs.
Okay.
If you buy
in Sealy,
It's going to go towards, us. But yes, all of the master gardeners, they're going to have usually a plant sale. They're going to have a tree sale of some sort. And things that we always try to keep in mind is, the plant or tree may look pretty, but we try to make sure it's things that are zoned for us.
Right.
Are going to do well in our area. So we're not going to make the fatal mistake I did because I wasn't paying attention. And I think I went to Lowe's or Home Depot 10 years ago and found a peach tree. And I was like, I like that name of that peach tree. I want that. And I didn't pay attention because in my brain, I'm thinking, they have things that are zoned for our area.
And they don't.
It's because they've got somebody, corporate buying. Yeah. And they're sending them wherever.
And the exact thing happened to us with peaches.
Yes. Yeah. So the peach tree we got needed 800 chill hours.
Oh.
We're not going to get 800 chill hours. We finally got peaches on it one year when we had
extended cold.
And it was actually in 21 with Uri. That spring we had peaches and it was like, hey, look at that. We got peaches 10 years later.
Never again.
And so that's the thing we try to keep in mind is those plants. Same thing with the plant sale. Same thing. We're going to find those things that are our Texas superstars, our natives, things that are going to do well in our area for the heat, for the cold we have. Right. Now, of course, when we have an extreme cold that usually doesn't happen,
right?
Then yes, those plants may not survive because that's not a typical winter for us.
So, Stacie, let me ask you: should people, if they want to, before they make a trip to their place, if they're going to buy trees or something, can they give you a call?
Yeah, definitely.
That way, they don't make a bad purchase.
Definitely.
Because I have to laugh, a bad purchase, then you do all this work to care for a tree that does nothing.
Correct. It's not going to bloom. And the other big thing too is if you buy something that has very few chill hours and it blooms and then we have a late freeze, all those blooms are going to fall off.
Right.
One good site is Aggie Horticulture, .tamu. They've got a lot of articles as well, and it'll highlight. I was like, I'll give you a second to pull it up.
Yeah, pull that up.
Aggie Horticulture. Is that it?
Yep.
Aggie Horticulture.
Click that, and then go to fruit and nut resources. And for instance, if you click on blueberries.
Oh yes, because I'm actually wanting to plant blueberries.
So they are updating a couple of these, but this is one that hasn't quite been updated, but it still has good information on it. It tells you, the different varieties, how to take care of them. But if you keep scrolling down,
Okay.
right here, it's going to list all the different varieties, the chill hours needed. So for instance, the powder blue is something that we see a lot of. It requires 600 chill hours.
Okay, now what's a chill hour?
Chill hours, each thing's going to be slightly different, but it's typically when how many hours we have of cold, of like 30, sorry, I'm trying to think. Some range different ways, but it's usually like, I think 40 and under.
Okay.
And so that range, how many hours of that? And
So gosh, these ones are like 700. Well,
that's something that's not going to do well necessarily here.
Okay, so
And it drops in
years
gears.
of cold is 72 hours, 72 chill hours. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's literally you're marking the hours of time of cold that your area was at that level.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so then it will show you kind of representation of the map. They have changed it a little bit, more or less, but it gives you a good, to look at it. And it also tells you, like some of them are, you need a different variety for pollination. And so it gives you those.
we're going to go back up here.
So
Asking questions. Why does the chill hour affect that? What is it about it? I mean, is it
it's something the plant needs.
okay? There's no. I mean,
That picky plant, it says, gee, I need this.
Well, and that's kind of almost like pine cones in a way.
right.
Historically, in some parts of the country, like the pine trees, in order for them to actually release their seeds or potentially seed out, they have to have fire because it's just something that's been adapted to them.
Fire.
Has to have fire.
Well, I
Because
like
it's
it.
one of those things where the pine cones then will actually pop and release those seeds. And so it's just something that plants have adapted to and what they're requiring.
Huh. Okay.
But yeah, no, so you can see, like, for instance, the Austin variety, it's going to pair well with Climax or Pine Premier. So if you go and you find that variety, you need to make sure you plant one of those in order for you to have that pollination process.
Okay. Yeah, because I heard you were talking about that. I heard a story, and I don't, how you read it on the internet. And of course, that means absolutely true. But it said that you could plant things like cucumbers and sunflowers together because the sunflowers grew tall and the cucumbers would climb around them or something. Like I said, of course, I read it on the internet, so it's 100% true. But
Yeah, I was like, that would be something, would be kind of a trial just to see. I guess if you didn't want to have, but you'd also have to make sure you have a variety of cucumbers that,
yeah,
grew up and not out.
well, anyway, like I said,
I saw something the other day where it said that the Indians grew squash, corn, and beans together. And I just said because like the beans would crawl up the
Sunflowers.
yeah, and it was
the corn, I think, and then it would
the
and it
corn would shade
yeah.
the squash.
I was gonna say that's that old thing you talk about, the historical stuff. These people they didn't have you,
Yes.
so they had to figure that stuff out themselves. But okay, let's see. Let's go back. Okay, so you have everything: fruits, nuts.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. We're not going to do it right now. But do y'all do grafting things?
We will have somebody that talks about grafting. We usually have a pecan show at the end of the year.
Okay.
And every year we try to find different topics. And we have talked about grafting before.
My mother's hot to graft. She's
Big cover. She wants.
I mean,
her biggest thing is she wants to try to get
those native lemons,
the native layers and graft onto them because you can't kill those things.
Yes.
I mean, you can't kill them. And so she would like to see if she could graft a good orange or lemon to it and use that strong root.
So a lot of our citrus and stuff that's grown in the area, they'll use that rootstock, and it's called rootstock for us, of the trifoliate orange, which are those, people call them sour lemons or things like that.
Those hideous thorns.
Yes. And so what they'll do is they'll graft onto that. And so that's their rootstock. The issue is if we do have a cold snap and stuff, yes, that rootstock will be fine, but you need to make sure you cover your plant and guard around where that graft is to save it. Because if it dies all the way down and it hits that where that rootstock is, what's going to come back for you is the rootstock. So you're going to have that trifoliate orange.
Yeah,
these are terrible. But yes, no, it is something, and they do it all the time. We actually have a master gardener who's very good at propagation and doing that. And he's like, it's nothing for me to have, one of those in a pot, and then he'll sit there and play with it and have a lemon tree or an orange tree or anything like that.
Try that. Okay, and look, you even have ask an extension. Oh, well, it doesn't work.
Yeah. It's an old site that they don't.
It's okay, though. You still have plenty of, amazing things in here.
Mm-hmm.
This is, okay, the Texas Superstar, I heard you say that several times, and I see here, it's the recommended plants for Texas.
Correct.
Okay, tested landscape, ornament suitable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good. Then that tells you where you can go and look, because I'm about to start landscaping around my house because, I just moved here. And so I will definitely look for the Texas Superstars because I want pretty ornamentals that will bring in bees and butterflies or pollinators and things.
And it will list you, and it'll tell you if they're deer resistant, if they're good pollinators, how much water they need. And then it even shows you like your retailers in the area that should carry those plants.
Okay.
So that makes it nice. And then you can go and look at their list. If you go like in the press room, if they just released a new one, that will be listed on there.
Okay.
Because they only put the brochure out every 2 years.
Okay.
And so you can see how they have them listed, and it goes in and it'll give you the range, what it looks like. But it's really neat.
Well, that's the thing is like I said, I'm looking, and I heard you say that several times, and so I'm glad I asked that. Here's strawberries. See, this is my problem. I'm down the rabbit hole now. I'm already looking at strawberries and blueberries, and I'm excited about this. And the cool thing is that, with what we've been doing here with Hello Austin County is bringing people together. And I don't know if you know Cade Mathis of Milheim Honey.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The thing is that I learned a lot about pollinators and things from him with the bees, and see, now I'm learning from you. And that's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to bring people together so they can go, I remember that girl from AgriLife. They may not remember your name, but they'll go back and look and, be able to see, because I always tell people that I've moved from Beaumont here, and the next place I'm moving is a graveyard. So I want to make sure Austin County is, great. But, anyway, well, I think we're kind of near the end. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
I can't think of anything. Thank y'all again for having me.
I love it. And please prepare to come back. What we'd love to have you do is come back every quarter, when things come out, when it's getting ready, we're getting ready for spring, which is why we had you, because there. And then when we're getting near the end of summer to kind of get ready for fall type thing. And so we would love to have you come back.
That way, when you have a program coming up, we could go down the rabbit hole on it. And that way, hopefully people go, oh, is that what it's about? And they'll know to come.
Yeah. For instance, our hay show that we have that goes at the fair. So
exactly. Right. And what's bad is for me, y'all send me that stuff, and I think that sounds so interesting. I know nothing about it. And I know that there is a process and whatever. And I'm thinking, should I just go out to a bale and grab some hay and bring it in? And then no, you're talking about a massive thing. And so that's what we're hoping too, is that, like you said, as we get closer to the fair, if you would come in and tell us, the things about the hay show, because let me ask you, do you work, Greg, what is it called? At the fair where they have the hay samples and all that. What is that place called? The little room.
Oh, the Ag Venture building.
Ag Ventures. Is that y'all?
It's technically the Junior Fair Board. They're the ones who work in that, but I do help them. Past couple of years, I've brought in eggs and incubators and had chicks incubate in there because I try to do some ag in the classroom, hatching in the classroom. There we go. So I have those incubators, so then I bring them for the fair so the kids can see the eggs hatching and they love it. Then after the end of the hay show, we put up the grand champion and reserve champion hay, so people can see that hay.
But I don't know, there's something about when you see the creation of life. I don't know. I mean, that was
chicks.
I'm sounding philosophical, but I mean, it's like there is something about that's just awe-inspiring.
It is.
When you watch them start, because we did that here, and it was like, I don't know, you get a little misty.
I was like, we were all standing there going, "Go chick, go chick!" I mean, we really were. And it's all, should we help them? It's like, no, you're not supposed to touch them. And it's like, yeah, but they might not make it. And it's like, but that's what happens.
Oh yeah. I did some test runs at my house, and my kids just sit there. I mean, they sit there and just watch them, and it's like it never gets old.
No,
like. Even me, I've done it so many times, and it's just like, it doesn't get old. Like watching them.
And like, we have cattle, and I mean, we all Dad calls, oh, we got a new calf. We all got to go out there and look at it, I mean, so yeah, it's we're moving away from that. But anyway, so there are sales coming up. Folks, watch for it. Stacie's going to send it to me, and I'm going to post it on Austin County News Online, put it on Facebook. So it'll all be out there. And the good thing is that anything we get from y'all will be good for us. We're not the big box stores that just say, here's a pretty tree.
Yes, exactly.
It's actually something that'll work for us. But anyway, well, thank you, Stacie, again for joining us, and we hope to have you back. Austin County, please remember to go to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe, share it, because that's how we get our name out and get all these great videos out there. And we need your help to grow. But until next time, keep smiling.